Welcome to Authentic Chat. My name's Josh, and I've got two special guests with me. Hey, so let's get started. All right, so here we are. You gotta turn that down. We can't have the echo going here. We got some special guests, rookies to the podcast eventing. So, welcome. This is my dad, Pastor Jimmy McDonald. So there he is. He is alive and with us. And then my wife is with us tonight. So all of you out there that are ready to watch this is going to be an exciting night. So Pastor Corey isn't able to be with us because he is actually working. Which is a perfect segue to what we're going to be talking tonight, is about work. So before we jump into the conversation on that, I got to let everybody know that we're, of course, if you're commenting, so we got some eyes popping up in the left-hand corner. So if you're watching, like Melissa is right now, how you doing, Melissa? Glad you're joining us. If you are joining us, we want you to engage with us. So what we need you to do. Two rookies. We got two rookies here. So we want you to engage. So here's how you can engage, and we're actually going to reward you for engaging. So number one, if you are the fourth comment, we're watching the comments come in right now. If you are the fourth comment that here, we're going to send you a $10 Starbucks card. That's a nice little bonus, right? You've been going after these, haven't you?
I kind of have.
I think you both have won.
I got one, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can't win tonight, though. Or maybe we can. So we got Caleb. Caleb's in there trying to get his. So we have for you guys. So the number one is the fourth comment. The fourth share. Hey, we got brand new AC hats. So as a guest, Pastor Jimmy gets one. Jolene, are you gonna wear a hat? No. No, that's all right. So we'll send this hat, or the hat that's for your size. There you go, looking dapper. So we have, we'll send you the brand new Authentic Church hat. They're pretty sharp. So that's for the fourth share. The 15th comment will get a new hat and a new T-shirt from Authentic Church, and then the 8th share will get a $10 Starbucks card, a hat, and a T-shirt. So they're going to get loaded up. So, you guys ready to jump in?
I think so.
Are you ready?
Yes.
You ready? You okay?
I think I'm ready.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We got lots of people. Aaron Mass likes the hats. So hey, keep commenting. You'll get a chance. Share it. That's the way to get a new hat. But what we do on this podcast is we go back to Sunday's message, and the whole point is to bring Sunday's message into the week. So I know you're excited to talk about Sunday's message, but we have been going through this series called The Bridge to Abnormal. And the whole point has been talking about God's taking us through this process, and He is leading us into a place where He's going to get the church back to where it needs to be. So back to unique, a royal priesthood, who God has called us to be. So this past Sunday, we dived into the subject of abnormal work. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul spends a good chunk of that talking about his work and why it matters and how their work matters. And we boil it down to a couple things. First thing we said is that work is what we are blessed to do. Work is so we are blessed to work rather than it being a curse that we have to go do.
Sometimes.
And that because we're blessed, then we are blessed to make a difference. So those are the two main points. And then from that, so how are we a blessing? And I laid it down in 3 points, is that we do it through our work, as we work, and from our work. So another way of saying that is, if you want to watch the board behind me, we got through our work is what we do. As we work is how we do it. And then from our work, that's the money we make from our work. So it's 3 ways that we're blessed to work. So we're blessed to make a difference. And how do we make that difference is what we do. So how we do it. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about that. And then how we do our work. So the example that we live, we dived into Paul about how he worked as a tent maker, was in the city of Corinth as an example of how to work. And then, of course, we make money when we work, or we have sometimes a tangible that we can use to now put back into the kingdom of God. So the reason why I asked you two to be here is because both of you are different.
Corey wasn't here, that's why.
Well, actually, we didn't know Corey wasn't going to be here. So,
okay.
So you were going to be here one way or another. The thing that we wanted to bring you in, Dad, is that I grew up as your example for me growing up. We moved to New Philadelphia when I was 6, so 6 years old, and you worked jobs upon jobs to do so that you could do ministry, and that was the example I grew up with. So I wanted to bring you in for that reason, and then I wanted to bring you in to get your perspective, because work, a lot of times we immediately just put work into the category of what we go to do, 8 to 5, or first, whatever shift we're working, what we do to get income. But I wanted to bring you so that we make sure we bring in the perspective of your work is incredibly valuable, because as a full-time mom, and an overtime working as a wife, and then you are involved in ministry through the church. So I wanted to get your perspective. So, Dad, Pastor Jimmy, what was your moving to New Philadelphia, Tuscarawas County? Give us a little bit of that background story on that, and
Well, to be honest, to be forthwith, I really wanted to be a full-time minister. So that was the thing. But that was never the case. So we came here, and the first thing I had to do was find a place to live and then find a job. Of course, the job was in insurance sales. It was for Metropolitan Insurance. And it was interesting. It was kind of cool though, because it was an introduction to people, because I knew hardly anybody here, maybe a couple families. So it was an introduction, because I had to go make cold calls and house calls and stuff. So it worked out, and then there's other things that worked into it too, and maybe along the line here we'll get over to that side. But full-time ministry is what I thought you had to be a pastor. You weren't a success unless you were in full-time ministry.
which is exactly something that we've been talking about here at the church, is that I've been blessed to be primarily a full-time pastor of a church. But the reason why I've had that opportunity is a large portion because of the foundation you laid, and the environment that I was able to walk into this community. Because when I said, I'm Josh McDonald, and that was immediately, oh, you're Jimmy's kid. because your work and your involvement in the community was at such a level of honor and respect that people immediately placed that on myself and our church. Did you is that just a result, or was that intentional, or?
I guess not really intentional. I do remember when I was a youth minister in New Lexington, Ohio, I ended up working at the Perry County Sheriff's Department. Went in as a corrections officer. And of course I worked midnight to 8. But I can remember a lot of those mornings, around 4 o'clock or so, talking with prisoners that were in the jail and realizing the impact that you make by working and being real and being authentic. And it was kind of a key that really helped me make the transition to here. Because in reality, once I came here, I knew a slim chance of being what we call a full-time minister, which I would like an opportunity later on to explain what I mean when I say minister, because what minister means to me now and what minister meant to me then are really quite opposite.
Well, good. We'll do that right now, because that is a misnomer, and one that I think we're trying to address as a church, of what that misunderstanding of full-time ministry is. So go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess, when you look at it, think about it, when you go into a church, now thankfully the churches in our generation now aren't quite that. But when I was going, you had your pews made out of wood. Once in a while they'd be padded. On the platform, you had these big, nice padded chairs, and the ministers always sit up there. You had your suit and tie on. And to minister meant that you were behind a pulpit. And don't take us wrong, but it was a holy pulpit, and only certain people could stand behind that pulpit. And that's the way it came. Well, I learned through time that pulpit wasn't really holy. It was just an elevated book stand that held your Bible and your notes. And what makes it holy is God. So God's presence in that pulpit and a person delivering a message is what made it holy. So in reality, that same thing is what makes a desk at work, or behind the steering wheel at work, or behind a shovel, or whatever you're doing, that becomes holy ground too, because when you start being moved by God, it becomes a holy place. And as a holy place, then God starts reaching the hearts of people. And so being a minister is working where you're at. And it's being real, it's being authentic, and it's allowing God to work through you to make that place holy. And so that's kind of the contrast, without taking the rest of the night to deliver a message.
Man, you just preached it, and gave a perfect transition or segue over to Babe. So what he just said was, taking the understanding of the pulpit being holy and putting that into any workplace that we're involved in. That's your place of ministry. How do you bring that into your, how do you see that as a mom, as a wife, as being not being paid for the ministry that you do?
Well, I think as a mom, I think it obviously changes with your seasons. Some seasons are harder than others. Like when your kids are little, it's hard to really see that meaning, but it's there. Those kids depend on you to teach them about Jesus and the love of God, and just we've talked about this before, the way that we get up in the morning or whatever sets the tone for the day. So I can set the tone with the kids, whether it's going to be good or bad, by how I'm acting. So I think that's a big deal. It doesn't seem like a big deal when you're running around chasing diapers and doing all that, but it really is showing God's love and teaching those kids love and kindness, and what we maybe call the little things of God, but really it's a big deal in the long run.
Yeah. Well, and what's really cool about what you're saying is, and just hit me as we were talking about it, is that one of the little guys that was growing up in the midst of all that chaos and changing diapers is now the one running the cameras behind the scenes right now. And so that value that you placed into that not only was in that moment, but has...
Yeah. And I think it's easy as a mom of a lot of young kids to get bogged down with your situation. But if you can, it is, and I know moms, because I remember people telling me it's gonna blink and be over, and you don't feel like that when you're in it, but you definitely don't. But it is true, and if you can just, take that time to just have your devotional or make some extra time, it does change. And then, your kids get older, and then you have to find different ways to do it always. But I think just what we were talking about earlier, there's no small job, your whatever you do makes ripples. So
I think you hit on something. You said you got to find different ways to do it.
mm-hmm.
So in your ministry, the way we did it as with one little one,
right,
and then 2, then 3, and then 4. Each time changed, and then as they've gotten older, it's changed again.
Sure.
So can you give some hope to some moms that are out there, and really to help them understand the value that they have in their work?
I just reiterate, there is so much value in teaching the little ones, because they grow up and you want to instill everything you can in them while they're still with you and under your roof, you know, and you'll see the rewards from it. I think, like, and I'm not saying like it's all bad. I know moms love to be moms. I don't mean that, but it is easy to
There's sacrifice.
yeah, it is easy to, you know, just like with church, it's easy to feel like you got everybody ready and then you just but it is worth it, you know. Like, I'm gonna give a little plug to our AC Kids team because they're amazing. Even nursery does a little lesson, and those kids love it and they do get it. And preschool, you know, and AC Kids, like the curriculum we do in there, Carrie does a great job with that, and it's Superbook, and those kids learn so much, and they're smart. I mean, I think about the little mummer kids, and they always are like, they're just know exactly what that's talking about. And I think Addie's in kindergarten. So, I mean, they grasp a hold of it, and I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it is. And so, Dad, if you could, looking back, the value that you know, were you able to see the value in the work, you know, you're working as an insurance, you're working, I mean, you worked for the county, you've worked, driving school buses. I mean, you could probably, I mean, can you count how many jobs you've had in T County on your two hands?
Possible. I do like to reiterate on what Jolene was saying there, though. What makes that valuable, because you put the two together, there's a ministry here and they do an excellent job, but if that wasn't reinforced at home, it wouldn't be that great.
Right.
And so, you know, they have an exceptional ministry mom too,
Sure.
that makes those things possible. Now, getting back to what you asked me, the thing is, if we really open up ourselves to God, God will use our work to open up a ministry field. I remember we started in our garage. It was a 2.5 car garage from our rented house. We remodeled that garage, and we went from there. And of course, I met people. And then I went to work for driving school buses. Of course, I met families. Now, the other thing I did too is I got involved in coaching.
And Cub Scouts.
In Cub Scouts
Yeah.
and coaching, because I wanted to meet people. And that's the thing we can do in our work or any secular thing that we do, which it's kind of bad that we call it secular because it makes it sound like it's non-godly, but reality of it is godly. And so therefore we made it a purpose to get to know those families, not to preach to them, not to convert them, not to make them members, but we'd have them over our house, different families, after a game or after an activity, and we got to know those families and learn those families and to be real. And I think that's the thing we need to really realize, is to be real. And then I went to work driving a school bus, and I went to work with the Road and Bridge Department. And I'll never forget the first day I went in there. There was a couple guys that tried to be intimidating. And it's just the way some natures are, but you know, I just was friendly with them and opened up with them, and it was just like walls came down, and when those walls came down, things started to open up, friendships started going. And then the blessing really came because our engineer, Joe Bachman, which I have a lot of respect for, had come to me and asked me if I would like to go up to the map office. I really enjoyed the Road and Bridge by that time because I love being outdoors. But, you know, I went ahead and went up, and I can't believe how God really opened up doors from there. For one thing, you know, you always hear this thing about attorneys. You know, I always thought attorneys were greedy and out for money and doing things like that. And I got to the map office and found that attorneys were some of the best people in our community. And so we were in a rented building, and then we went from there to sharing the Episcopal Church building. And we definitely wanted our own building. And the thing was, we didn't even have a credit card as a church, so we didn't have a credit rating. So working there, I met attorneys, I met bankers, I met abstractors, I met some awesome people up there. And finally, I went to some of them one time and I said, hey, we're looking at some buildings. What would it take to, you know, get financing? And of course, they'd ask what your references were. And they go, I don't know, pretty difficult situation. But the thing is, God puts you in connection with people that you need to be in connection with. And through that process, we built relationships and friends, and we finally got a loan just under the name of the church and corporation because they wanted everybody else to sign off. And But by that time, things opened up, door opened up, we got a loan, we got a building, and that has also blessed into what we have now too, because that same relationship expanded and built, and it's because of what God done by making ground holy, because his presence was there, but he needs us. I want to iterate, he needs us.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of times, and this is where we're actually going this Sunday, I gave you a little sneak peek, is that we have to understand our work is valuable because we're valuable. And a lot of times we lose an understanding of our status and who we are in Jesus Christ. And so as we close out this podcast, I just want to encourage everyone out there to just understand, one, that your work matters because, one, you matter, and what you produce out of your work matters, and that God's going to open doors for you to minister and to be a minister, to make your workplace holy. And as a result, you'll be able to use those things to bless this world and make an impact. So, hey, thanks guys for being with us. And man, God is doing some really awesome things. We love you all out there and can't wait to hang out with you. You can join us this Sunday, 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. at 201 Stone Creek Road, or live on Facebook. So, hey, we'll see you guys soon.